So, hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar hosted by Sinotech. My name is Anil Semwal. I'm Sales Director at Sinotech Technology Solutions. Thanks for tuning into our webinar today. Before we start, let me give a brief on Sinotech. Sinotech established in year 2008 with our headquarters in India and offices in North America and Middle East. We are here to support your technology needs wherever you are. For over the last 15 years, Sinotech has been championing our clients' technology endeavors through CRM and ERP consulting, custom application development, and digital transformation services. We have proudly served customers across the globe from North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Middle East, and Asia. Now let's talk about something even more exciting. Sinotech's very own product, the CTK email parser. Think of it as a your trusted sidekick in digital automation, effortlessly extracting all the essential details from your emails, saving you heaps of time and hassle. So no more sifting through emails manually. Today we have the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Anshul Verma, our global Salesforce consulting practice head, with over 15 years of Salesforce experience under his belt. Anshul is the mastermind behind CTK email parser, and he's here to walk us through how it works and how it can revolutionize your business operations. So, without any further delay, let's jump right in and explore how CTK parser can simplify your life. So, I would like to invite here Anshul Verma. Hi, Anshul.
Yeah,
Very good
Anil,
morning. How was your
thank
morning
you. Good
today?
morning or good evening for you.
Thank
Good.
you, Anshul. Thanks for
Um,
joining us. Over to you.
Thank you. You went a bit off script. I'm not a mastermind by any means, but yes, it was a bit of my brainchild, this application. Well, thanks everyone for joining in today and really excited to walk through our application and show you what we have built at Sinotech. So first, let's start about why do we even need something like this? Why do we need an email parser at all? So let me share my screen first. Um, all right. Anil, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
All right. So as I said, first let's understand why we need a tool like CTK email parser, an email parser for that matter. So if we look at a general industry trend, and these are all studies done by different research agencies, there have been extended research and data that has been found wherein we have extended email fatigues. Around 38% of workers quit job primarily because of the email fatigue. A lot of emails that are coming in that are causing distraction from their work and not letting them able to actually focus and concentrate on their work. Can imagine, as per Forbes study, professionals spend an average of 2.6 hours per day on emails, on processing emails that are coming in. And approximately that boils down to or rolls up to around 600 hours per year, or significant amount of cost per employee per year that is being spent within organizations for manually processing these emails. Now, of course, I'll add a caveat in there. Not all of the emails can be processed manually, automatically. There will still be a percentage which have to be handled manually. But for a significant portion where you have repetitive emails coming in with some sort of a structured data or some format that the emails are following, you have a lot of capability to automate those. And that's an area we are going to explore today. So what we built around this was an application, CTK Mail Parser, which is built natively on Salesforce. So it is running on top of your Salesforce instance. It's extremely fast. It's running on Salesforce infrastructure. So you can imagine the speed that it can gain with all the infrastructure and power of Salesforce behind it. It's fully native. So you don't have any other application installed, any other third party to set up, no hassles. Just install it as just another App Exchange application, and you can start using it in a matter of minutes. It's highly secure. It's built with the best practices as per Salesforce guidelines and app exchange policies. And your data always resides within your Salesforce instance. So you can imagine it actually complies to a lot of regulated industries, on healthcare or insurance, wherein they have huge requirements and extensive requirements for data security. It can take care of all those requirements while making sure that you're getting best of the capabilities. And not to miss, the tailor-made screens that have been built for admin and not so technical users are something that can make application use very easy, and you can say a very low learning curve when it comes to applications like these. So how does it work, or what does the timeline looks like? Because everything said and done, it all boils down to how easy it can be realistically. So we have a quick chart to show how a typical implementation cycle would look like. So the installation of application as just another app exchange application is pretty fast and pretty easy. You can set it up in matter of minutes or hours, depending on how fast your internet connection is. The admin setup or setting up the actual parser itself, one parser, can take anywhere between 1 to 3 days. It depends largely on how the email is structured and how savvy is the user while creating the email parser. And at the end, automation kicks in, and basically that's pretty much what system is doing for you. So you don't have to work on these emails. System will automatically sift through emails, extract the data, and then process them. And where does it apply? So CTK parser transcends industries. So it doesn't cater to specific industries or use cases. It's a generic tool which can be used to cater to different departments or industries, be it sales, be it service, be it operations, and handle different use cases. As far as we said, the caveat is that there are some structured information coming in the emails, and that repetitive structure is being followed. So now let's jump into the demo. So we have
Sure.
Isha. Anil, you're saying something?
No, no, please proceed ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we have a quick demo that our team has built. So in this demo, we're going to show, first, let's take a deep dive into how does an email parser looks like in CTK email parser. So a typical parser, you can see, rather, I should go back. These are the email parser lists. So if you have a question, you can create multiple email parsers to parse different type of emails. Just taking an example, let's say you have multiple vendors and each vendor sends information in a different set of format. You can create a parser for each vendor and then reliably extract information from those emails, from the vendor emails. And you can create as many email parsers as you need, or as per your data storage limits allows in Salesforce. Now let's take a look into an email parser. So email parser is structured or broken down into three main areas, or rather four main areas. First being the email parser information, the basic name details, whether it's active or inactive. Also, we'll come to this on how filter evaluation works, but that's step one. Step two is email filters, where you can add criterias or conditions which will evaluate whether this parser should work or not. Because of course, if you have 100 parsers running or activated, you don't want all those 100 to be initiated and invoked for an incoming email. You want only the few ones which are geared or which are targeting to that email to be activated. So these filters help make sure that only the intended email parsers get executed for an incoming email. So as you can see in this case, we have two filters. So one is subject contains payments and subject contains PayPal. Let's take a deep dive into it. So let me first deactivate this parser. As part of security setup, we have made sure that if an email parser is active, users cannot modify the email parser for consistency as well. So we can deactivate it. And now let's take a look at one of the filter conditions. It's super easy to create these filters. As you can see, the name is more intuitive. That is more for users for readability. But if we now want to create the condition where the subject should contain payments, so in this case, source is where the data will be verified from, that is subject. Operation we are performing is contains, and the value we're looking for is payments. And that's pretty much it. That's what you need to create your email filter. Now, one thing you would notice in here is sequence. This is very important when you have multiple filter criterias and you want to evaluate them on a conditional basis or some other logic. So let's say if I go back, I have two conditions in this case, two mail filters. So I have subject that contains payments or subject contains PayPal. Now I may want uh, either one of the conditions to be met or both of the conditions to be met. And that is what you can configure within filter evaluation. So and means all the conditions have to be met, or means either one of the conditions can be met. And custom means you can define your own custom logic. So you can pretty much write as, and this is where the sequence comes in very handy, where you're able to specify exact filter criteria that you want to use to evaluate your filter conditions. Now let's move on to third section, which is field parsers. This is where the crux lies, the application. This is where you can create multiple data points, each data point indicating the data or extracted data from the email that you want to extract out. So let's take a deep dive into it. What does a field parser look like? So when we create a field parser, this is the default view of the field parser, but we have a builder mode which have more capabilities in order to basically build a field parser and test it. So let's test this, or let's view it in build mode. In case you haven't noticed, let me go slow. We have a build button. You can click on this button to open this field parser in build mode. So when we look at this particular section, we have two major sections in here. On the left-hand side, we have the field parser settings, and on the right-hand side, we have test area. This is where you can actually live test the field parser and validate that its conditions, its setup is working as intended. So you have a couple of key settings like output type. What is the type of output or the value that we're extracting? It can be text, number, date, or currency. What is the reference name? What is the data point? What name do we want to provide to this data point? So that is a reference name. In this case, we're calling it customer number. How do we want to extract the data? So there are multiple types of parsers. So the most frequent one that we have seen being used is text. We have others like regular expression selector. We have path, which uses an XML path logic. We can show that later on in this demo. Fixed, you may want to use some static values for any backend automation. So you can also provide some fixed values. And full value is basically getting the entire value. So let's say you want to get the entire email address of the sender or the name of the sender. So instead of doing any parsing, you just want to extract the entire value. So in that case, you can use full value. In this example, we are basically using a text-based parser. So you can see the type has been set as text. Now, source, where are we extracting the information from? Again, you can extract information from multiple places, be it to, from, CC, HTML body of the email, or text body of the email, subject, or any header value for that matter. Even the email send date, which is made easy in case you want to track the email when the email actually arrived. Then we have these parser configs, which help parser identify where to pull the information from. So let's take an example. In this case, we have an email. Let me load an email from test area that we have received and used for testing purposes. And in this case, I just demonstrated how we can pull an existing job and the system will automatically pull the email that was sent to initiate that job. So I'll cover that in a bit. But for now, basically, it helps us use any previously sent emails for testing our parser. So as I clicked on load test data, it has automatically loaded the text body that we have set up in source over here in test area. Now you can see this is my email that I have sent, and I want to extract this customer number, this value as customer number. So the conditions that I've provided is that the value should start from bracket and end with a close bracket. You can see that is the value we're targeting. So we can test now over here by clicking the test button to see if it actually works. So you can see it has been able to extract the value. Now, I think the obvious question would be, what if we have multiple values in here, somehow we have, let's say, let's mock this. Let's say we have um, something like this coming in, and we have this value also. So now when parser would look at it, logically, it will find two values. So how do we make sure that we are only getting the first value? That is the only relevant customer number for us. That's what you can configure in the subsequent section. Let me minimize that. So in here, you can configure which set of value do you want as part of the outcome, whether you want first value or any other value for that matter. So let's say we can select last. And when I click on test, you will see it is displaying process values, the last value, which is basically the output that you would get when the actual parser runs. Or we can say we need all the values, and we can provide a separator. So let's say I want all the values separated by a pipe delimiter. Now, when I test this, please notice that both the values have been highlighted with green color, indicating that both of these values are being used for outcome. And please note the process value. We have both the values with the pipe separator over here. Now, this can be very handy for backend automation. If we want to now feed this data back into some flow or some backend automation, which wants to parse all these values and then make use of that data point. All right, so I'll not save it so that we're not messing around with the setup, but I hope that gave you a better idea of how a field parser looks like. And let's now jump into the last section of the email parser, which is email parser action. So after we have qualified the email that has to be processed, we have extracted all the key data points that need to be extracted. Now we can take an action. What do we want to do with this extracted data? So there are two actions that are available as of now. When we click on new, you will be able to see those actions. So either you can create a record. So whether we want to create an existing record in a standard or custom object, or we want to initiate a platform event, which is very handy for creating backend automation or initiating backend automation, initiating flow, backend triggers, or we want to attach this record to an existing, attach this email to an existing record. So let's say we already have an account and we want to attach this email to that existing account. So these are the two actions that are available. So let's jump into an action that we've already created, which is creating a payment. So again, this is the view mode of the email parser action. We can go to build mode and see how we can actually build this on our own. So you can see this is a very intuitive screen wherein users can actually select the target entity where the data has to be stored. In this case, we have selected payment. You can basically choose any standard or custom object where user has access to create data. Once we select the object, you can automatically see fields over here, all the object fields that are writable by the current logged in user. And also you will see an indicator of what are required fields. And users can then start mapping the values. Now you would see a list of values getting populated over here, which is basically all the values, all the field parsers that we have created. So when we create field parser, you can see this list getting populated accordingly. So as you keep on adding more field parsers, you will see this list getting bigger and bigger. Another thing that this application is taking care of is that it's also making sure that we have as least of data discrepancies as possible. So it's making sure that amount, which is a currency field, is mapped to only a corresponding currency field so that we don't get data type mismatches and corresponding errors. So you can see date field has only payment date. But if you look at status, you would see a lot of values because these are all text. So you can use any of these values for mapping the value to status or a string value. Similarly, we have mapped type, processing mode, and that's pretty much it. Once we save this, it will save the mapping, and basically that has given us our email parser. We have built our email parser, or this is what it looks like. Um, and now to bring it to action, we can click over here, mark it as active, and save. Now the email parser is active and it can now start processing emails. So let's take a look at email parser jobs. So these are the existing jobs that have been created. So let me send a new email and we'll see a new job that got created and we can then deep dive into that. Um, right. Oh, apparently my machine had to be restarted. So all the windows got closed. I have to open it again. Meanwhile, Anil, have there been any questions? Anything that want to talk about?
Yes, there are several questions we got. Let me please open them. One question is there from Mr. Rajat Vasist, and he needs to know that how easy it is for a business user to use this tool.
Yeah, so primarily it's designed for non-technical users. So business users or admins can use this application. As you can see, the screens are designed to be intuitive for an end user. So let's say from an end user or business user perspective, when a user is looking at the email, they know if that there is a discrepancy. So potentially a user can go in and let's say one fine day, the vendor who is sending these emails has stopped sending emails with round brackets. They started sending emails with customer number enclosed in square brackets. Now, this doesn't require change management. This doesn't have to go to IT. This can be edited right here. So let's say, for argument's sake, if I go in here, mark that as inactive, and now, as I said, my customer numbers are now coming in square enclosed values. So instead of that, what I can do in here is I can just replace it by square brackets. And that's it. That's the change that we need to apply to be able to accommodate and start reading those new emails. So it is designed for both business users and admin users. But yes, for advanced usage, you would require some technical knowledge wherein admins would be most apt for handling these kind of use cases.
That sounds good. That sounds quite user friendly. One more question is there from our audience. His name is Neeraj Maurya, and he's asking Mr. Anshul, what inspired you to create this tool? Have you experienced this problem in your daily manual emailing process, or have you learned about it from your clients?
Yeah, so we have had basically a lot of experience around this domain. So in my past consulting career, we have built some of these capabilities, but primarily through code. So around 2 years back, basically we were working with a customer and we were building a pretty massive automated system on Salesforce. Everything went well. And then we realized we're getting a lot of emails that have to be processed in order to execute the business process. And that's a lot of emails. You require a lot of people to be able to read those emails, which is not practical to hire as many people to be able to read that volume of emails. So we went to design board and looked at what can we how can we solve this problem. So the obvious answer was we need to have some kind of a email parsing functionality. We want to build something that can automatically parse the content from emails. uh, of course, the first option was we shopped around. We looked at existing products out there, and there are pretty good products out there which are doing similar in the similar space. But most of those are cloud-based tools. And one of the big requirements in our case was data security. It was a regulated industry client, and they want to make sure that their data is absolutely ironclad. It's not going anywhere outside their domain. outside their scope. So that actually limited our options significantly. We only found one tool which was boasting to be able to run on a given machine, on a desktop machine, and something that can be owned instead of leasing like a SaaS service or a cloud service. So we ended up implementing that, but then as anybody can imagine, it required a lot of hassles to set up the application, to build on top of it, to test it, to even send information to Salesforce. Every leg we had to apply a lot of band-aids to actually make it work. It did work, but then there were a lot of operational hassles. There were machine restarts, patches being deployed on machine, crashing the application, memory issues, whatnot. While we were going through these challenges, I personally realized that this is an apt area wherein Salesforce doesn't have something built in to support something like this, at least not of as of now that I know of. Tried to find something on App Exchange, which does something similar. Couldn't find much. So that's where we thought, why don't we build something around this? So we built this application. And now we are basically transitioning our customer over to CTK email parser. And we've already started seeing significant benefits. Our maintenance time is basically our downtime is absolutely zero. The application is working as desired, and the overall transition time is significantly low. A lot of existing automation is being used as is. We are basically easily able to transform from current application to new application with very minimal amount of effort. I hope that answers that question, Anil.
Yeah, definitely. One more question. Meanwhile, I got through LinkedIn Live
Mhm.
from Naveen Rawat. He's asking, how does the software ensure the security of your email data?
Great question. So the first and most important thing is that it is a native application. It doesn't use any backend third-party APIs or tools. So your data resides within your Salesforce instance. So that's the first level of the security. The second level is that uh, based on the Salesforce security or platform access, the out-of-the-box security framework that we get from Salesforce, profiles, permission sets, users and admins have full access to provide access to the desired users for required data. So that further narrows down within your organization who can access this data and these emails. So those are the measures that you can take. And lastly, of course, the Exchange application, a published application goes through rigorous Salesforce security testing. So it has gone through that, it has passed that security test, and is it can vouch for the security that it brings to table.
Got it. Thank you. One more question we had. So, Jagjit College is asking, what are the some examples or use cases where this tool would be useful?
That's actually open for imagination. As I said, the big criteria is that you need to have, I would say there are two major criterias. One, you need to have a sizable volume. If you're getting one email in 1 month or 1 week, probably that's not a right volume for automation. But probably you're getting 10 plus emails every day. That's a sizable volume. And then you need to also make sure that there is some structure being followed. So let me take an example. Let's jump into the demo right
Yeah.
away. So let's say, um, if you look at my example that we've been using, let's say this is just a boilerplate email. It doesn't necessarily have to be this simple, but it is primarily for demo purposes. Let's say we want to send email which contains the payment details, which contains the name of the customer, customer number, amount of payment, the payment amount, invoice number that has been sent out. We need to send this information, and we need this to be logged as a payment in Salesforce. So again, please note that this is the email address that we have set up on as part of the setup of the application. It doesn't need to be like this. In the real world, it has to be redirected from an email service like Gmail or Outlook, and the end users will not really see this email address. It's only for backend processing. So let's send this email, and as we said, we'll switch. So we see we have three jobs. As I send this email, we'll see another job that gets created because of the email, and we can see how it gets processed. So let me send this email. The email is sent. Now let's wait for a few seconds and we'll see a new record created for this particular email that we just sent. Perfect. So you can see the email job has been created for the new email that we have sent. And you can see the status is currently created. That means it's still being processed. And it's still evaluating how many email parsers it has to process. Okay, unless I messed around with my email filters, let's take a look at so as part of this, also as part of the demo, every email that comes in within CTK email parser is logged as an email parser job. That's very important for backend monitoring, any debugging that's required. So it's also make sure that, let's say, if something fails due to whatever reason, you can see and check why a particular email parser failed to parse information and then take corrective actions. Maybe, as I said, the vendor has changed their email template. Instead of sending it in round brackets, they're sending data in square brackets. That means the parser will not be able to extract information from there. So now you can see why parser failed, fix the parser, and then take care of the incoming emails. So in this case, and actually it looks like our entry condition did not meet. But when we take a look into the email parser job, we can actually see some of the key details of the incoming email, like who sent it, whom did it send to, message ID, which is important for any backend correlations, subject of the email. And then we can also see logs that are getting automatically generated based on this email parser, which is very important again from technical perspective for any debugging. You can see in this log it's saying email does not meet criteria for any active email parser. Now let's go back and let's see why that happened. Because none of our email parsers are active. So now let me reactivate this email parser. And one other capability we have in here, or another capability that I would like to highlight, is that in this case, apparently we got the email, but email parser was inactive, so it was not able to parse the email itself. Now we have a capability where we can ask email parser to again process this email, which is called as replay job. So I can click on this checkbox, I can click on save. That will initiate or reinitiate the processing for this particular email. So let's click on it and let's see how that happens. So you can see this particular job, now status is completed. Email processed is 1. Now let's take a look at the job and we can now take a look at the logs. You can see earlier it was not meeting any criteria, but now after rerun, it has met the criteria. It has processed and extracted each of the data points, each field parser. You can see that value over here. And then it created a record that was the part of the action, the payment record that got created. So now let's go back to the Salesforce screen and let's take a look at payments. And probably you'll find a lot of duplicate payments as we're using the same test data, but this is the data that just got created. And you can see it has all the parsed values over there. So let's do a fresh test. So let's say we'll send another email, and in this time, we will change some of the values. So let's say we send another email to CTK email parser, the mailing service, and in this case, let's say I'll change the customer number. Let's say and transaction amount is this, invoice amount is, all right. Now that's the value we want to see, and we should see in payment record. So let's send it. And now let's go back to our payments tab. And let's wait for a few seconds for it to be processed. Perfect. Now you can see that new record got created automatically. And let's take a look at the values. It has the amount that we have provided in here. And that's basically how the parser works. It basically looks at your rules that you have set up in email parser, and it starts processing those rules and takes the action that we have set up. So let's do a review what we talked about. So as we said, we have email filters, which qualifies the emails, field parsers, which extracts the information from email, and parser action, which actually takes an action on the extracted information. So that's pretty much about the demo that we have. So Anil, we can jump right into the questions. If there are any more?
Yeah, thank you very much, Anshul. It was indeed a very interesting webinar and interesting session. It was really wonderful tool. So one more question I have from the audience, and after then a few more question I also having. Another question from Jagjit Kohli is this tool has any versions or updates? Can the audience expect any updates in the future? Perhaps
Of course,
adding
we are
some new.
constantly upgrading this application. In fact, currently we have, I think, 7 minor releases that we have released in past year. So we are incrementally adding new features. And yeah, we have a couple of new releases lined up where we'll be adding more capabilities to this. Of course, we're also backing it up from Sinotech. So if there is any issues, we will be more than happy to understand that and fix it promptly. If there are any usage issues, users can reach out to us or go to our website, connect to us through that. And if there are any feature requests, that can also be requested through our GitHub channel, and they can raise feature requests from there.
Perfect. One more question is there from an anonymous attendee, and he's asking, is there any license cost or fixed cost if my company wants to use this product?
Right. So yes, there is a license cost, it's a monthly cost that's set up for this application. We do provide discounts for some like NGO discounts. But yes, there is a license cost. And that's actually should be visible. Let me also share the CTK Parser website, which provides tons of information about the application on its content, documentation, all of that. And also, you can click on this button to go to the App Exchange listing of the application, which lists down the pricing, which is uh, very modest, $300 per company, unlimited emails, unlimited email parsers, and full support.
Got it. Yeah, even I would like to request this anonymous user to share his name and email address so that we can provide him more details around this.
And I would like to also mention that there is a 1 month free trial. So any organization which wants to actually check and test whether this CTK parser can help them in getting the right business value, they can definitely test it, install it in their sandbox or even production if that works, and build the email parsers. And we'll be more than happy to help and collaborate if there is any question around actual usage or how it can be implemented within an organization. But yes, a lot of tools available, a lot of content available. And I would again reemphasize the website, which has a huge, you can say, set of information around usage and setup details.
Got it. Yeah, Anshul. So after the questions from the audience, I also have one question.
Sure.
Even a few questions I have. So I wanted to know what inspired you to create this wonderful tool.
So as I explained, Anil, the inspiration was we went into that whole spiral of finding the tool for a customer. What we realized is that a lot of customers would be getting into, or potential customers, organizations would be facing the same situation. I've been in this industry for 15 plus years. I've myself built some of the solutions in the past which were heavily code-based solutions. And I know my peers who have built similar solutions wherein they build code or use a third-party application to basically process these emails. But there was nothing native on Salesforce that we can use reliably, and we can be sure of data security and not have to go through hassles. So that's basically what was the key idea, the key point where we realized that we can build an application on Salesforce, on App Exchange, which can provide a lot of these parsing capabilities. In fact, let me give you an example. One of the differentiators that we felt was from security perspective. Uh, the application that we were using for the client that I mentioned, a desktop-based application, because it's a regulated industry and we're installing a new tool from a new vendor in that organization, we had to go through multiple rounds of compliance, legal checks, and whatnot. We probably had at least like 5 to 8 meetings with those teams to explain them what we are trying to do, provide the business justification, explain them how we are doing this, getting appropriate approvals, and getting all those agreements in place. It took us months to get there. CTKML parser, it took us one meeting to get justify a business case to business users and get the buy-in. It took us another meeting to get the compliance check-ins, and that's it. We were able to crack it down in as least amount of time as possible for application like this coming into a regulated industry, a highly regulated industry. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely that answers. Another question that I had, uh, what sets CTK email parser apart from other email parsing tools?
Great question. I think the first thing itself is that it is the native application on Salesforce. There is, as far as I understand, no other native application built primarily for parsing emails on Salesforce. Um, Second, it's highly intuitive. As you can see, we've shown the screens. They're built primarily for non-technical users. So it doesn't require a user to be savvy with coding or any other, you can say, automation capabilities. Of course, as we advance, as we want to build more comprehensive automations, it would require some sort of, we can say, automation knowledge. So that's where admins would be more appropriate for using this tool, but it's geared more towards reducing the learning curve as much as possible for managing tool like this.
Okay, great, thank you. And who is the target audience for this tool? Is this tool beneficial to all the users?
So yeah, as I said, it's primarily for admin and business users. But from a target audience, I would say it's more towards organizations which have sizable amount of email processing that's happening. And we have actually built, let me also show you, we have some ROI calculators built on our website. So prospects and industries, organizations who are interested in this can actually even use these calculators and assess if there is actually some value of using this. Again, as I said, maybe there might not be value for every organization. Organizations who are getting very low volume of emails, who may already have a lot of automations in place to handle something like this, or probably the emails that are coming in are very unstructured. They don't follow any structure at all. In that case, of course, there would not be a lot of options, at least as of now, until we build more capabilities in there, then it might not be of right value for organizations. But like in case of one of our clients, as I mentioned, they were receiving tons of emails every week. A lot of those emails, at least 80% of those emails were structured, were having the same structure being followed, and data extraction was more definite. We know where to extract data from. In that case, building those rules were very fast, and that started showing the real value, the ROI to business.
Sounds good.
But I would heavily emphasize that anybody who's interested or wants to explore the value of CTK-ML parser can actually go to the and use these ROI tools or calculators where we can have built it across comparing CTK-ML parser with the manual implementation or meaning manually processing those emails or handling through code or through a cloud-based parser or an on-prem parser. something that we were dealing with.
Wonderful, wonderful. Uh, if we talk about scalability, could you please give some insights on scalability of this tool?
Absolutely. So again, we designed the application with scalability in our mind. Um, One of the key things in here is that the whole design in the backend is designed to make sure that it can handle multiple emails at the same time. It's able to process a lot of this data, a lot of these emails in an asynchronous mode, in the backend mode. So it's not draining the resources, limited resources that we have available on Salesforce instance. Also, given that it's using Salesforce's massive processing capabilities, the overall processing is very fast. In fact, if I may show, um, if you look at these jobs and notice the time it was created and time it was last modified, that means the processing was completed. It's it's within milliseconds. It's really fast. So that's also adds to the scalability of the application. The overall resource usage is very low. The resource footprint is very low. But of course, there are certain limitations that we need to be cognizant of. So let me show. We have so there are Salesforce limits in terms of, and let me see if I can share that slide. All right. So if you can see my screen, these are some of the limitations that we need to be aware of. So Salesforce has platform limits, a daily limit on how
Are
many
you,
emails
sorry
Salesforce
to
can
interrupt you,
receive.
Anshul. Sorry to interrupt you, Anshul. Are you sharing your screen?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Give
now.
me 1 sec. I think I stopped sharing. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, yes, I can see it now.
Perfect. So yes, as I said, Salesforce, there are certain platform limits wherein we can have a maximum of 1 million emails that can come in. That's per day. That's pretty huge for any organization for that matter. Also, there are limits on email size. The email size cannot exceed 25 MB, which is a Salesforce platform limit. So there's very little we can do about it. Also, the application limit that we have imposed to make sure that the parsers and the application works reliably. So we can have as many field parsers as we need, but we can have only 50 email parser actions that are required for a single email parser. You can have multiple email parsers, but each email parser can have only 50 email parser actions. This is again to contain and make sure that we don't go overboard and start consuming or exceeding the Salesforce limits. Although in practical application, we don't expect users to go anywhere close to even 10 email parser actions. But yes, we have a limit till 50. And of course, the last but not the least, data consumption. As you can see, it uses some data within your organization. So it's going to create a record for each job that's getting created, each email that's getting created. So it will also have some footprint on data consumption. So as we start using this application, we'll start seeing the jobs getting created, hence data being used. So at some point, organizations would also have to have a data retention policy or data purging policy where they can start purging this data out from Salesforce. Probably, let's say, just taking an example, let's say for regulated industries, they may want to delete or remove everything that is beyond 7 years. So delete all of that, or maybe anything that is outside of 6 months window, and keep everything else in some kind of a backend storage location or backup storage. But yeah, that's pretty much what I would consider as limitation in this case. But beyond that, application is highly scalable, highly flexible, where it can process multiple email parsers, having multiple field parsers, multiple actions, and perform seamlessly.
That sounds good. Thank you, Anshul. One last question we do have from Mr. Subhajit, and he's asking how many custom components will be deployed as part of this installation and how much size it will be taking.
That's actually a tricky question. Let me see, that's something we can actually see in here itself. Size, I'm not sure what is the size that is being referred to. Is it data size or the package size? But if I dive right in here, this is where Salesforce shows everything, all the details about the application and all the components. So that's a pretty public set of information. You can see all these three tabs, five objects, one app, and they don't count towards limits. It's a managed package, so their limits are managed separately than rest of the Salesforce instance. But I hope this gave you answer for what you're looking for.
Yes, hope Mr. Subhajit, you have got your answer, and you can anytime reach out to us for more details. So that's all it was. Thank you very much, everyone, and especially thank you very much, Mr. Anshul Verma, for all your time and expertise in it.
Thanks, Anil, and thanks everyone for joining in. I hope this was a productive session, informative session about CTK Parser. And as we said, please reach out to us if anybody has any question, any inquiry. We'd be more than happy to help and discuss it further with you.
Yeah,
Thanks, and
so
have a great day.
thank you, everyone. So we are sharing CTK email parser link in the chat box, and where from you can purchase it, you can have more information about it. And unfortunately, we are running out of the time. We still have several questions that we will ensure to answer you later. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Anshul. It was really nice session.
Thanks, Anil. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.